Welcome back.
Do I think you should buy?
The boys are back, and
Boys are back.
episode 2. We're well. First off, if you're still with us, thanks for tuning back in.
Absolutely. It means the world to us.
Yeah, tell our fans about what we're going to be talking about today.
I honestly need to take a look at the notes. I don't really remember, but I know we're going over the day in the life today. Correct?
Day in the life. What the schedule looks like. What works for you. What's going to allow you to be the most successful you.
Yeah.
Basically,
because I'm sure the fans are just dying to know. They're like, "What is the day in the life of Nick and Kyle?"
What's the secret sauce? Yeah. Honestly, it's just a lot of like Andy Elliott videos.
100%.
And
that's really it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You kind of ran out of ideas because that's real.
I wake up and then I just go straight to Instagram and see what
you wake up, shave your head, scream in the mirror.
If you don't follow Andy Elliott already, you should go give him a follow. He's honestly like, when I think about the last couple of months and how I've been able to get a lot of traction in my business, it's because of him. So Andy, if you're watching too, thank you, because
we owe everything to you.
Yeah, but yeah, in all seriousness,
yeah,
we're shooting the pod in the Gutierrez household today. So if you see some dogs running around, you might hear a baby scream in the back. That's why we're trying to switch up the vibes. We're going to be mostly shooting in the studio, but when you have a 5-month-old, you just got to work on the fly. So
yeah, got to roll with it.
That's why we're here.
Shout out Bree for keeping them entertained.
Yeah, Bree's on mom duty right now. So let's jump right in. I want to ask you just right off the bat. Tell me about what's your morning look like. What's your day look like? Then we'll kind of go into what your week looks like. On honestly just personal and with work for the loan officers or real estate agents watching too.
Yeah, for sure. And I won't get too much into like morning routine and stuff like that, because we already talked about that. Kind of like we could do a whole episode on routines and things like that and kind of how that helps. I'm a huge dork about that stuff, as you know, and pretty rigid with that. But and I honestly envy the people that don't need that stuff, because some people are just like, roll out of bed, check their phone, start their day, and they're just completely fine. And hats off to them. But like, I just go nuts if that's me. And so I need to, like you said in the last episode, kind of being selfish with your time. That's why I wake up a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So I have no distractions and can kind of do whatever I want. But so day in the life, I mean, as you know, it's kind of a hard answer because every day is so different. It's kind of like, hey, what do we got going on? How many files do we have in the pipeline that are under contract and stuff like that? But overall, I wake up a couple hours before.
What time?
7. It depends. So if I'm going to jiu-jitsu, it's usually about 5 a.m. because classes are at 6. And so I do that 2 to 3 days a week where I do the 5 a.m. wake ups and I knock that out. And then that way it's like 7 a.m. and
5 a.m. wake up. So is the jiu-jitsu start at 6?
Yep. And so I'll wake up, shower,
yeah.
and I don't really do anything. I just kind of go straight there. I'll do some stretching and stuff, do about an hour class, stay after, spar for a few rounds, and then that gets me home at like 7:30.
Unless you hit the cold tub, which you just recently found.
Yeah.
Or is that at the same spot?
Yeah, so this new gym down here that I'm training at, they have a sauna and cold plunge too. So I've been ripping the cold plunge after practice, just doing a few minutes in there, which is super nice perk of that gym. So
that's huge.
Shout out 10th Planet, Scottsdale.
Yeah, give them some sponsors.
Shout out 10th Planet Scottsdale.
Sponsor our pod.
Yeah, been needed a gym while I was down here to train at, and they have a super good group of guys, so I got lucky there. But anyway, so a few days a week, it's like a 5 a.m. wake up, go do that. That gets me back home about 7:30, and then my first meeting of the day every day is at 9:45 with my team, which it's just me and then a couple of my production assistants, Megan and Ryan, who freaking kill it. And we just go over really anything that is going on, like with our files that we have under contract. Like, hey, we're working on these 3 pre-approvals, where we're at. Okay, we're waiting for documents, whatever it is. And then Megan helps me with all my contract at close. So with that, it's really, people that are already under contract, and we're like, hey, okay, we need to, get final approval. Did the appraisal come back? Blah, blah, blah.
When you don't have any under contract, which is probably rare, right?
Yeah.
But when you don't, do you still have those meetings? And if you do you guys, what do you do? You just brainstorm on new ideas, going over upcoming people that might be buying soon? What does that look like?
It's a good question. And luckily, it's never, it's pretty rare that we don't have at least somebody under contract. But it's never the case that we don't at least have some people like
you're
that
working on.
it's applications and getting pre-approved, and that's just as much of it too. So there's always stuff to talk about. And I mean, there are days where it's light. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
whether it be business is slow or whether it be, we have a ton of files, but they're all just moving along and there's no issues and everything's, moving along.
Yeah, it's a shorter call.
We keep them short. I mean, I'm not trying to waste their time.
Yeah.
They got better things to do. So, I mean, sometimes they're 5 minutes. They probably average like 10, 15 minutes, but it's just like a huddle every morning to make sure we're all on the same page. And that's like so huge, just because if not, I feel like it's so easy for stuff to get like fall through the cracks. And then you're not giving a good level of service to people. But so basically on those days that I'm doing that, waking up about 5, doing all that, coming home, doing my routine, which we'll get into on another episode, and then hop into my first meeting about 9:45. And then on days that I don't, basically I just wake up at about 7, do my routine, and then the same thing. And then I just go to practice at nights on those days. So it's kind of like you said, it's like, I don't have a kid, but it's like if me and Jasmine have date night on Wednesday and, we're up a little bit later, then I wake up at 7 instead of 5 on Thursday and then go to practice.
You almost have like
night.
you have two different routines depending on.
Totally. And that's just now that we're down here, when we're in Washington, it's a little different. When we're in Maui, it's a little different. So it totally adapts, but that's the beauty of this job is, we don't have hard set things. We get to build our business how we want, our hours how we want. So, but that's kind of what it's looking like right now. And after that meeting, it's like, it really is, my day doesn't have a ton of structure. It has structure in the fact that I have basically like my theme days as we'll probably talk about later, but where I have 3 to 5 like non-negotiables every day. Like, okay, Monday, I've got to do my video to all my referral partners, clients, and leads that I have, just keeping them updated on the market. What's going on? Oh shoot, rates just changed. Or, this new lending law came out where, it's going to affect things, or appraisals are now, went from 800 to 850 or whatever it might be. So I make sure I get that video out to all my people, shoot that on Monday. And I'm not going to go into everything for each of my days, but I have 3 to 5 non-negotiables every day. And then when I'm not doing that, hopefully I have a few meetings every day as well, where I'm meeting with, a buyer that said that hey, I want to get pre-approved, or hey, can I ask you some questions? I'm thinking about, I want to buy a home and stop renting, or whatever it might be. Like even the post that I did on Instagram yesterday, one of my buddies from college who I hadn't talked to in probably 4 years, messaged me off that video and said, hey, can you hop on a call tomorrow? I want to, buy a home this summer. So, hopefully I have a few meetings, whether it be from social or making calls or whatever it might be, scheduled throughout the day too. So that right there already, that's taken up several hours, but I kind of try and fit when, I have free time too, just brainstorming. Really, that's the beauty of this business, is like you get to figure out what the heck works. And so it'll be coming up with ideas, or, trying to make some stuff for social media to, or mail, like coming up with some marketing mailers or whatever it might be. So fill in kind of the gaps with really anything, just getting creative, or like thinking like, hey, I want to do an event, or I want to do like something for charity and use that like for my business page and things like that. Or, it really changes, but that's kind of the structure. So I have my meeting first thing, make sure we're all on the same page, have my 3 to 5 non-negotiables that I got to get done every day. And then, making sure my meetings are all scheduled, and then I kind of fill in the gaps with free time. And
with whatever you feel is like most important.
Yeah. Whatever's going to give you the biggest return on investment, right? Because if you're sitting there and you're like, okay, on Thursday for 5 hours, I, called title reps or whatever it might be, or I'm just making stuff up. I've never even done that, but
maybe you try it out.
You worked super hard for 5 hours, but did that get you anything? Then it's like, okay, probably not going to do that again. Maybe next week I'll call, financial advisors or whatever it might be too. So really just constantly fine tuning, just like we said, you just throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks, and then, kind of refining it and going from there. But that's like a big thing for me in 2024 is I want to, I've been doing this for several years now. I kind of know what works for me. So getting that and just making a plan that I know I can stick with for the whole year. And that way every week I'm like, okay, this is all the stuff I got to do. Don't really have to think about anything else. Like I just got to execute it. it's a super long answer and not even really an answer because it just changes so much. But
Yeah.
I'll kick it back to you after that and kind of see, I guess.
Well, I was gonna say on that too. It's like you. I think when people set goals, especially like going into the new year, you want to put like 15 things down. So like I think you're really good, at least from what you've showed me. Like your goals are not physically, like when I watch you run and go to jiu-jitsu, but you know what I mean? So I think you have to start with like 3 to 5, and then you can bake in another one and another one. Cause like you said, if you try to do too much, then you just set yourself up for failure where you're like, dude, I already haven't done the 3 things out of the 7 that I was hoping to, and it's only been a month and I have 12 months. So another thing we can talk about, in a later episode is a 12-week year and how that's super helpful. I know you showed me that in goal setting, but
that's huge too. And like you said, if you try and do too much, and I've noticed this firsthand through a bunch of trial and error, because it all sounds good. You're right. Like, I'm going to do this.
We've done it together.
Yeah. Where we've done goal setting together, but then you start to get discouraged. And if you're like, oh, I'm not able to get this done, and then it just bleeds into everything else. You're like, well, now I'm just not getting stuff done, and it's just like a snowball, and then you end up doing nothing. So it's better to do a few things well than a bunch of things, not at all or bad. And that's something I've been writing in my journal, like in the morning, like in my gratitude journal, is like, it's like 3 things you want to get done today, and it's just like, keep my promises to myself. Like, because if you have like, hey, I know I need to be doing these things every day, and in full disclosure, I'm like struggle with this constantly. It's like a constant battle, but like saying like, hey, I need to do this every day. And then when you aren't doing it, you to yourself are like, bro, like you're like, figure it out.
You gotta hold yourself accountable.
When you're breaking those promises to yourself, then, it can get real bad real quick. So
well, it's like one of those things where it's like, if you can't trust yourself, like who can you trust? You know what I mean?
Dude, exactly. but no, I've been like struggling with that a lot lately too. And so I've been constantly refining, like, okay, we're trying to do too much, let's go back to the basics. And that was like my big theme for this year.
Yeah. You have something that's always going to bring you back to a base, and then you can go from there. If you want to add more stuff on.
Exactly.
So,
but yeah, let's kick it back to you and kind of see.
Yeah. Well, so wake up at 4 a.m., watch my Andy Elliott and Luke Belmar videos to get me riled up. But the reality is I like to go to the gym at like 5:30 to 6. Having a newborn has changed that a little bit, especially because Bree is the one that's, I don't say 100% of the time, but most of the time, she's the one that's getting up with Vincent during the night because she's exclusively breastfeeding. So there's not much I can do aside from change the diaper and hand him back to her.
Shout out.
Yeah, she's killing it. So most of the time, go to the gym in the morning. I used to go after work, and between like just the rush of people that also go after work. And then when you have a day and you're just like, you worked all day and the last thing you want to do is go to the gym. So like I started going in the morning probably during COVID, and like I love it now. Like Bree can tell anybody, like I almost feel like grumpier. I don't have that same like energy during the day if I don't go in the morning, just because it like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the word, propels me into like, I don't know,
because I was always like, I never worked out in the morning until like a few years ago. And I feel like when you get it done, then you're like, oh shoot, after work, the rest of the day is mine. I can do whatever I want. And like, I already did my things that I needed to do. But when you don't, then you're thinking about that all day too. You're like, okay, I got to get through work, then I got to finish work, then I got to go do that.
Yeah.
And so when you don't get it done in the morning, then like that's kind of hanging on you. So yeah, I can relate to that a ton.
It's funny because I was never a morning person, and then once I started going to the gym now, not to sound, I'm not like some gym bro, but I like look forward to mornings now where I get up, have my coffee, go to the gym.
Some little time to yourself.
Yeah.
You can just think about like stuff that you're not getting bombarded with emails and stuff. It's kind of like you don't have distractions.
Yeah, which is huge. I had this conversation in my networking group where I think it's so important to not be on your phone. And I know you do that too in the morning, like especially with emails, with our jobs. Like if you go to sleep and you just took an application at night and waking up the next morning and you have 10 emails, like I naturally just want to I'm the type of person that hates having emails in my inbox. Like I want it to always be at 0 when I end the day.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing I'm checking. So I've learned to just, We have Opal, which shuts off social media, and then I just don't check my emails till 8 a.m. because I'm depending on the situation. Obviously, there's sometimes where you have to, but
that's so huge too. Because like when you wake up and you check it first thing, then your day is already kind of
you're
compromised because you're already thinking about everything. Where like I know, like you just said that too. Like that's a big thing for me. No phone for the first hour. Like I'm like religious. Like I don't even like look.
Yeah, no blue light.
Because I the second I see that stuff, then my mind's racing. I'm like, you got to do this, this, and this, and you're playing catch up to where.
So true.
That first hour is like sacred. It's like you can really focus like about more important things than work. I mean, frankly. So.
Yeah, you don't even realize it until you've done it enough to where you then catch yourself like at the gym. Even for me, like even little things like going on Instagram between like doing a workout set will throw off my like workout, which sounds crazy. So now I've just gotten to the point where I just keep all my apps are closed, phone's black, I've got music playing, and that's helped a ton. But yeah, I work out in the morning. I have the same kind of call where I'm meeting with team members and going over things that we're working on throughout the week, whether it's pre-approvals, people under contract, making sure everything's tied together. And got a special guest. But yeah, I don't know. I think like you mentioned, throughout the week, like we have theme days where we're reaching out to people that are already under contract, reaching out to buyers that are pre-approved looking for homes, so they haven't found a house yet.
Yeah.
And then other days are reaching out to referral partners like financial advisors, real estate agents, title reps, anyone that runs a small business. Really, she's putting on a show.
Yeah, she is. She's like.
But yeah, I'd say that's really it. I think it's important to have balance, and that's kind of the beauty of doing what we do or any job where you're self-employed, is the fact that you can pick and choose like what your goals are, how much income you want to make, and then set up your time accordingly. So
yeah, 100%. And it's so nice. Like I feel like a reason why we wanted to do this podcast is like we both were going through all this stuff like separately.
Yeah.
And when you don't have like, it's just been so helpful for us to have somebody else to like bounce those ideas off with, or say like, hey, this has been working with me, really well. Like maybe try this, or like you can help me with something, or I help you with something. Or even if it's just like, hey, I've been doing this and it sucks, like I want to try something else, then like that's been a huge help for me, because it's anything in life is so much harder when it's like just you. When you have, even if it's just one other person that can kind of relate or is going through similar stuff, will help a ton.
Yeah, you need someone, at least in my opinion, someone to be able to relate to. And like, I don't know, it's probably a little different for you with my company that I'm with. Like we have a Monday call where we're all brainstorming, but aside from that, there's no one that I have like you that I can call and just bounce stuff off.
Yeah.
That's because we work similar, which is
my company has the same things, and honestly they kill it in that regard. I gotta like give that to them as well. But it's different when it's like, okay, first, one of your best friends, same age, like we've been growing up our whole lives together, like it's a lot deeper than just like, a work call too. So I mean, it's pretty invaluable.
Well, on that note, what would you say the pros and cons are of not only just being in the mortgage industry and being a loan officer that's 100% on your own, self-generated business, opposed to working like a 9-to-5 or being in any other industry? I guess more so like being an entrepreneur opposed to a W-2 employee.
Yeah. Well, and first off, I got to preface this with like, there is a lot of pros and cons to both. Like,
right. That's what I'm asking you, what you think yours are.
Because I hate like on social media and stuff too. It's like, if you're not an entrepreneur, like doing this, like
you're not listening to enough Andy Elliott.
You're not doing the right things. Like, dude, there's a lot of pros to just having like a 9-to-5 W-2. And I know there's days where both you and me are like, God, dang, it would be nice to be just clocking in and not having to be stressing about
where our
paycheck's going to be coming from, or what do we got to do to drum up business now the market's changed, or whatever it might be. So first off, there's definitely pros and cons to both. I just think for our personalities, a job like this kind of just fits us a little bit better, just because I think we both are people that maybe like to just be in control a little bit.
I would say 100%. That plays a huge factor.
Yeah.
Right.
And so me like being able to structure my days, like, hey, if my mom comes to visit me, I don't want to have to be like, hey, can I, take some time off, or can I clock a half day today? Like, it's important to me to be able to be like, hey, I'm going to structure my week this week so I can, spend time with her, or whatever it is. So that's the biggest thing for me. It's just like the freedom with my time. As I'm getting older, like I'm just starting to realize like how important that is. Like life goes by quick. Like, like we're creeping up on 30, which in the grand scheme of things, we're super young and have, a ton of time, but, I try not to take that for granted. So being able to, be flexible and things like that is probably the biggest pro for me. And then this is a pro and a con. You have full autonomy over your income. Essentially, you can make however much or as little as you want, which is great when you're making.
You have the control to say
when you're making a lot. Like you have control to a certain extent. And I mean, I like to believe that, like, if I'm not making money, it's my fault. Yeah. And if I am, it's my fault too. So that being said, the last couple of years have been a little slower. There's been plenty of hard times, like so that's a struggle. But overall, I would still rather take that, because when the times are good, they're good. And it's all up to me. I like I was a wrestler growing up. My favorite thing about wrestling is like when you get your ass beat in front of a gym full of people, it sucks and it's like the worst feeling ever. But it's like there's no one to point fingers at, right? Yeah. It's like, well, that guy was better than me today, and when you win, it's the opposite. It's like, hey, that was me, So you gotta, the good times are good, but you gotta take full accountability when the times are bad too. And there's been some rough times definitely over the last couple of years where I'm like, oh shoot, like where that W-2 sounds really, really nice. So those are the pros and cons, but I just think for my personality, like I'm obviously in this type of profession for a reason. That's just more what I'm drawn towards, and I like the constant challenge of it. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass, but I still would, choose that just because it keeps me on my toes. It keeps me constantly having to figure stuff out and try and be better. And I know a lot of this stuff just sounds super cheesy, but it's true. It's true.
Well, I was gonna say too, like I think with your personality, like it's super beneficial to be in the position that you're in, because of the fact that you just as a human naturally want to continue to grow and be better. Mm-hmm. And your personality is that way as well. So when you're not stuck, but if you're in a job where you're not able to control your own growth to a certain extent.
Yeah, that you nail on the head right there for sure. Because the job prior, which, I had a great experience at that too, but it's like, okay, me and the three people next to me, no matter what, like if two of us are absolutely killing it and doing the best, and the next two are, they don't really care or whatever, but we're all getting paid the same and we're all, everything's the same for all of us. To me, that doesn't jive. It should be like, I like the performance base, like, and so that's another reason I was kind of drawn towards it. But yeah, like we said too, there's two sides to every coin. There's a lot of pros to the W-2, the people
there's no right answer.
You can, the W-2 can be awesome too. And if you're just like, hey, I want like a little less stress, a little bit more stability, and things like that, and I just want to save and invest over time and, get my retirement or pension or whatever it is, there's a ton of merit to that as well.
Yeah.
I just, like you said, it's kind of just what your personality is. How I think a big part of it too is your appetite for risk. Like how comfortable are you with taking risks? Because it is risky. We're 100% commission. When there's those months where you don't have anything coming in, you have nothing coming into your bank account either. So, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, you took a lot of it. I was gonna say with the wrestling thing, it reminds me of golf, because I didn't start playing golf till COVID as well, and it kind of relates to business too. That sounds like cliche, but I feel like I've either seen or heard that before. But it's like I enjoy golf so much. I never played it until a couple of years ago, and being able to do something and have to take on full responsibility for, like, if I hit a bad shot, or if I hit a great shot, or if I mess up, or if I'm not putting in the time on the driving range to be better when I go out and play. It's all coming back to me. So similar in that aspect to being an entrepreneur or just being self-employed or 100% commission as a loan officer. I think that was a risk that I really wanted to take after being a loan officer for a bigger company. Where I was clocking in 9 to 5, or in that case, 7 to 7.
Yeah, you have a really good perspective because you've been a loan officer for a company like that and like this too.
Yeah.
So you could talk a ton about that type of stuff.
Yeah, and so after doing that for 3 years, I got to the point where I'm like, hey, I know what I'm doing now. I can do this on my own. Let's take a risk and see what happens. And it's paying off so far. And so I just think, I don't want to regurgitate everything that you just said because I agree with everything you did, and I don't want to repeat it. But the fact that I'm able to set my own schedule and control how much income I make, and also like just the fulfilling aspect of when somebody closes on their house, it's because of me. It's not because of a company, or I'm not hiding behind a brand. Like the brand is myself, and I'm the one that's providing the service, which I take pride in, and I think is important for clients that we service. It's important for them not only when they're working with you, but when they're referring you somebody, they're like, hey, he's going to take good care of you. Like, trust me, like you're in good hands. So that's what I like about it. And I've enjoyed it. I mean, I've been in the self-generated business for a little over 2 years now, and it's great. So
and like you said too, it's so much more meaningful too than like if like before it was more call center type. It's like, hey, you're just getting fed all these people, you're getting them to a certain point where now it's like, on closing day, you're making that call like, hey, we just sent the wire, your loan's funding, and you get to see the emotions on people, and especially like first time home buyers and stuff like that is pretty rad. So
yeah. Do you want to do the buy and sell of the week?
Yeah, we've got to be probably getting close to time. Shoot, I didn't think of any. I kind of want to do sells first because then we'll start with a negative and end on a positive. But that being said, I can't think of a sell, so I'll go with my buy. But going forward, I'm going to try and start doing that. My buy of the week, and shame on me for not thinking of this last week, is Max Holloway, dude. UFC 300 was like, UFC and MMA is like my favorite sport. Like that. So like UFC 300 was like the Super Bowl for me. I was just waiting for that. And the Max Holloway fight was something that, like, to me should have been the main event. Like that was the people's main event. And he's been one of my favorite fighters like my whole life, like growing up. And then Justin Gaethje, the guy he was fighting, is another one of my favorite fighters. So I didn't really want either of them to
you didn't know who to choose
to lose. Like I was rooting for Max, but I was like, I don't want to see either of them lose. And Max was going and fighting somebody that was first of all a really scary guy that nobody wants to fight, and a weight class above. And everyone thought he was going to lose. He came up, pieced him up for 5 rounds, and then knocked him. It was
a crazy fight.
Literally knocked him out with time expiring. Was like the most. I was like a child.
It's like a Hollywood script, basically.
Yeah, dude, I was a child. Jasmine came out of the bedroom and was like, "Are you okay? Like, what's going on?" Because I was running around my house screaming, like, just like raw. I was like, oh. Like it was.
That fight was crazy.
Everything that it could have been and more. So I got to give Holloway a shout out. He's my buy of the week for sure. And he just like cemented himself, which he already was, is like, just one of the best of all time. And it was just probably the best sport.
Top 3 fights ever watched?
Yeah. If not, I mean, number one. Number one. It was incredible. What about you?
My buy, dude, is the thumb mac and cheese. It's
the thumb mac and cheese.
The thumb mac and cheese, yeah. So it's a gas station down the street. And like, it sounds crazy, but it's
gas station mac and cheese.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take you after this video.
Oh my, you're rolling the dice with that one, bro.
Dude, look it up. If you live in Arizona, look it up. If you haven't been there, you need to go. If you don't live in Arizona, look it up, check it out. And when you come to Arizona, you need to make a visit. It's in Scottsdale. But first off, Guy Fieri, very, very well known.
The GOAT.
Foodie, has been there. He's got a sign up in there.
Yeah.
The mac and cheese is unreal. I got it last Sunday. Yeah, it's almost a week ago.
Yeah.
It's the best mac and cheese I've ever had.
Okay.
And they have barbecue there. It's showtime. So I'm gonna have to take you after this video. And
dude, I just gotta call you out. Your buys of the week, 2 weeks in a row, are Arizona Summers, hot take. Most people, and then gas station mac and cheese. You're starting off this podcast
next episode. He's gonna, once he tries it, he's gonna be his
We'll
mind will be
do a
blown.
live.
It might be his buy.
We might have to just do like a live taste test on the
Yeah,
next
or we'll
episode.
bring it so you can
Yeah,
try it
and
during
just
the episode.
try it right on the
I mean,
pod.
you can ask Bree. She feels the same way. It's
Dude.
up there.
Well, that's perfect because I just thought of my.
Yourself?
You just brought up Brie, and I thought of my sell of the week, which isn't Brie, but my sell of the week is Jasmine's gone for I took her to the airport yesterday for the next 10 days. So
You're riding solo.
I'm riding solo. It's my sell of the week. Don't like it. Miss her already, which is, I sound like a huge softie right now, but like I got back.
At least you're being yourself
Yeah,
for the pod.
I got back afterwards and I was like, damn. I was like, she's gone for the next 10 days. It's going to be brutal. So shout out Jazz. I just absolutely miss my
I feel like
Khaleesi.
It's cool for like 2 hours to be home alone because I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're like, all right, this sucks. I'm bored.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my sell of the week.
We're going to miss you, Jazz.
You'll be missing my old lady for the next 10 days.
That's why you have me.
I know. I'm just might just bring my backpack and sleep.
Yeah, stay here.
I'm sure Brie would love that.
Yeah. Dude, my sell of the week was our special guest is Nala. I was just telling you she
legend.
So Brie and I are handling Vincent for the next week and a half.
Yeah.
We've got lucky enough to have Cheryl, my mother-in-law, watch Vincent for the last month. And she's about to leave Arizona. So we're going to be on our own until my sister-in-law is going to watch Vincent. Yeah. And dude, Nala's gotten in the pool, I think 4 out of the 5 days this week. And so I'll be on a call and I look outside and she's swimming.
Just going full polar bear in the exhibit.
And it's not the fact that she's swimming. That's totally fine. It's the time it takes to dry her off. Yeah. Or if I don't have time to dry her off, her coming inside and just getting the floors soaking wet. So she's on my hit list. We're going to have to figure out. We're actually getting a pool gate put up next week so that we don't have to deal with it. Not because of that.
You got a kid.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, that's going to be.
I was going to say, we didn't make the call this week like, hey, we need a pool gate now. But it was one of those things we've been waiting to do.
Yeah.
And so now
she might have hurried up the process.
Yeah, she will.
I mean, let's be real.
She heard, and so she's been taking advantage of going in before it comes out. She's like, I'm going to get a couple more swims in before.
That's hilarious. Well, sweet. Should we cap it there?
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. That's episode 2. We're going to be firing content. Next week is going to be, morning routine?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We're coming up with ideas. Honestly, anybody listening, if you guys have stuff that you're like, hey, maybe to our 3 listeners out there, just like, hey, we really want to hear this or whatever it might be, shoot us a text or let us know because, we're going to be doing this for forever is the plan now. So we're going to need all the topics.
Yeah, I was going to say, ask us what you want us to talk about. Throw some questions in there, some good topics, and then we'll just
swipe up and subscribe.
Yeah, swipe up, hit that like button, subscribe, get the merch in bio, and we'll see you next week.
Dude, we got to come out with some merch.
Yeah, we should.
All right, dude, we did it again.